This is a video to unpack what a mini lesson and a lesson plan looks like. So this is the blank document here that you need to fill in, but I'd like to show you a finished product. So this is what the finished product looks like. So it has the student name, the learning areas. This is one in design technologies, and it's got curriculum descriptors from the Australian curriculum, enduring understanding, learning values, which are do, know, do, and value. It has an engage phase where you hook the students into your learning, an extended explore phase with lots of different learning activities through there, and then a review and conclude phase of the lesson. So that's what it's going to look like at the end. So what are the individual elements in your lesson plan? Let's go through them here. So first of all, we need to put in the curriculum descriptors. So if your learning areas is Year 3 English, then you're going to go and have a look at the Australian curriculum, Year 3 English, and provide the focus, the curricular connections for this lesson. It might be parts of speech. It might be some degree of writing. It might be presentation skills, whatever it is. So I've also concluded here, not just the content descriptors, but and for many subjects, however, you'll put here, this is a technology elaboration, process and production skills in the context for the learning. But must have the content descriptors from the Australian curriculums as a minimum. The next step of this is, okay, what's the big idea? What is the big idea that the students are going to walk away from this lesson knowing? And in that big idea, you'll be talking about what they're going to learn, but answering the question about why you're going to learn. Now, I'll just come back and hold the thought of what a big idea might look like. It relates to also the goals that you'll do. What do you want the students to know? What's the learning content knowledge? What do you want the students to do? What skills and applications are you going to have them do? But what do you want them to value out of this exercise? Was it teamwork? Was it appreciating different ideas? Was it understanding God's rich array of information and knowledge is revealed here? So coming back to the big idea. The enduring understanding, can I suggest to you, is a combination of what you want students to know, do, and value in a succinct way. And it will often have a Christian element that you want them to understand how God's rich array in his creation is revealed here, perhaps. So that big idea is a combination, can I say, of everything what I call the headline section of your design. So you have to start a lesson saying, where are we learning, what are we learning, and how are we going to learn before you even start the detail of the planning. So let's go further down now. The engage phase. It says, what's the hook? What's something interesting that will get the students activated in terms of learning? Are you going to bring something in that they can see and feel? Are you going to watch a stimulus, an image that you present, or a conundrum that you want to discuss? Is it a video? Are you going to take them outside and say, have a look, how does this work? But most of all, if you can connect it to the student's world, connect it to what they already know, in their everyday life perhaps, and then you are hooking them into the learning. So it's got to be interesting and exciting, I think, to be the best engaged phase. And that's going to be a smaller part of your lesson, and you'll write down how long it is. It might be that 5 to 10 minutes of a 40-minute lesson that you're going to get them involved. Get them asking a question about this topic. Now, the explore phase is the most extensive phase of the lesson, and the review phase I'll talk later. But sometimes make sure in your planning you have enough time for the review phase. So what's the explore phase? Well, you've introduced the topic, you've got them engaged, and then you want to get them working on things. So this will have multiple phases of that. It could be a very long activity, but it's more than likely going to have what I call different learning experiences involved. So it will have some components. and it will have a flow to it where you'll start the activity, you'll pause, you'll get the students back in, you'll do a subsequent next step activity. So it might have a development phase in what you do here. And this is where your nuts and bolts and meat of the lesson is going to be delivered. So you have different segments, you have different resources that you're going to use along here. So this here is what resources you're going to use, or what I've called here scaffold to guide the students. What is it that you're going to give them to help them navigate the learning journey in your resources? What's next? Well, you'll then come to the review phase. And this is an area it's underdone. That's going to be like your engage phase. It's going to be that 5 minutes or so at the end of the lesson where you stitch everything up in a bow. Is it some reflection where students write down about what they've learned? Is it a small little takeaway worksheet that you're going to do? Yes, it might involve communicating what homework you want them to do, but it's more than that. In other words, it is talking about and synthesizing what we've started to look at, what we've explored through the lesson, and what's the end result of our learning. And this is perhaps a time where students have the opportunity to share a little mini presentation, to share a sample of work with their partner friend. It's you as a teacher making sure that everything that you wanted out of this lesson, in other words, the enduring understanding, is encapsulated in this phase. So in a lesson, let's say it's a 45-minute lesson or thereabouts, you might have 5 to 10 minutes here. You might have, say, 5 to 10 minutes here. So you'll have in your explore phase that you'll have the 20 to 30 type range of lessons. Now, if it's a longer lesson, of course, you're going to have probably more time in each of those segments. So that's your lesson plan. But let's have a look what it looks like. Go back and have a look what that might be. So here we have the curriculum descriptors and the codes associated with that. Here's the no, they want to understand these areas. It's about that technology lesson, this lesson. They will do collaborative design and work, and they'll appreciate the creative thinking process and value that. So the enduring understanding, let's have a look at it. We'll understand design and technology, identify problems, help develop design thinking and creativities to solve a problem. In other words, can you see that it's a meld of the know, do and value? It is also incorporating all the elements of exploring, generating, using materials and making solutions. So this enduring understanding is a compilation of what I said earlier, the headline aspects of the lesson. Look at the engage phase. They have an introduction video and a discussion, and they write about what they thought. So their engage phase is to prompt them with some sort of video. And then some images about this. This is design technology. So it's like the leaning power teaser, not working so well. Flood-proof house, working well. So in other words, it's stimulating the whole idea on what's good and not so good design. Then he asks them to actually use a process it's a design phase called the science engineering design phase. So you can see steps. Ask phase here. You have an imagine phase here, and a planning phase and cooperative learning going on, and they create phase. And in the last phase, when they review their own work, they have to say, how can I improve and reflect upon what I've done? And they're recapping the lesson at the end. Now, this is a particular sequence using a design sequence or design thinking, but your sequence might have different phases in it. This just reflects the design technology. So going through and recapping. Australian curriculum descriptors, know, do and value, enduring understanding is a compilation of all those. He engaged them with the videos, provocative questions and images, and then he had a number of sequence and steps along here for his explore, and he brought them back to reflect and to recap in the review phase. And notice over here he's got some just short points about what paper, what items he's going to do, and here is some of his resources appended here in terms of the groups and reflection that were appropriate to that lesson. So hopefully this has really given you a good idea about how a lesson design is made at CHC.